Hello, I'm from the future and I'm here to show you the app that I'll be creating. The first one is digital clock, and it's very simple. You just click on this to start it, and now it started, and you click on this to stop, and it stops it. And the second one is the React counter app, and if you click on that, it increases, and click on this, it decreases. So basically, I'm just going to show you the simple functionality of how to create the clock and the counter in React. Hello everyone, hope you're all doing good. I just thought of sharing something on React. That's how to use the React useState hook to build a digital clock. So I'm going to have a digital clock here. So first of all, here I have the index.js file, which looks good. So I'm definitely going to go to the app component, and here I am, and basically it's just rendering out this hello text we have here, h1 text. And you can see if I change that, say my page, you can see it reacts, it's my page, yeah, it reacts to that. So my page. So basically I'm going to create the useState hook for the digital clock, and I'm going to also show how you can do some increments and decrements on using buttons, and let's just see how it goes. So first of all, I'll need to bring in the useState. So I'll say import, and I'll say the useState. Let me destructure that useState, and no, I don't want all that from React. Yep. So good. Then I'm going to set my component and my useState hook. And this one is saying count, but actually I want let me just say time and set time. So it's going to set that, and let me just have a template, something like this, and I'll just say AM. So let's render this and see how this will look. So let me change this to my digital clock, digital clock here. Yep. So my digital clock. So let me just show that this is rendering webpack. So let me put that, let me just display this down here. So we'll display that as h2, and we can see, let me just make it bolder without CSS. So I'll just instead or let me just leave it that way, it's fine. So we can see that there. And okay, let me see if I can use style component to style that, and I'm just going to say font size, something like that. That works. Let's see. And that's quite good. Let me just make that 3 rem. 3 rem, yes. All right, so that's big, that's bold enough. And let me just change the color. So I'm going to say color, right, and I'll specify the color, and let me just give that gray. No, that's not the spelling. Yes, gray. So now I have my digital clock looking something like this. So this is static because I just put it at the default value here. So I'm meant to set the time, and to do that I'm going to use the interval. So set interval, set time interval, yes, set interval, and I'll use 1 second. Every 1 second this should take place. So basically I'll need to get the date. So let me just say date, oops, date, oops, is equals to new date. Yes. Then I'm going to now no, I'll not do that. I would now set the time to the date dot. I'm going to use two local time string, and let me see if this en dash us. Oops. Okay, no, it's meant to come in just that way. Let's see if that works. Okay. So what I've done here is basically I've set the time so that it takes from the date function, and it's going to create the time for me this way, and this is exactly what I want. So we can now see now that the digital clock is working. All right, so let me start working on the second part of this, and that is I would like to create a start and stop button somewhere under here. So to do that, I'm going to just create those elements. So I'm going to say button, and that's for the start. So I'll just say start, and I'll come here and do the same and stop. So let me see if I can just style two of them a bit. So let me create a style component here. So I'll just say style, or let me just call it my style. Let me just say btn style, right? Btn style. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to create padding. So just say padding, yes, and this is cool, but I'm going to make it slightly bigger. So let me just say 20 by 40. Let me see how I'll see how that looks. So why it's giving me an error is because I've not allocated this to the button. So I'll just simply say style, and I'll pass that in here. And remember, you have to, there's not Python, there's JavaScript, so you have to put that in there. So, and now we see the size is too big, so let me just make this 10, and that's fine. So I'm going to do the same, just copy this, pass this down to the stop, and now we have two of them here. So let me just create margin spacing here. So I'm going to come in here, and I'll just say margin, let me say right, and it won't work this way because this is not CSS directly. This is, we're doing this in JSX, so I'm just going to put it that way. Now we have a spacing, so this looks okay for now, and we want to say start and stop. So let me just make this green and red. Let me see if I would just say const btn style, that one, no, btn style, and stop. Btn style stop. So now so that I'll style it separately. So I'm just going to say background color and red. Let me just see. So if I take this in here, oops, so I'm just going to take this, put this here, and I'll just make it start something like that. So I can just see if I can destructure this one here. So let me see if I can do that, and okay, then put that this start here. Now we can see. So let me remove this error, sorry. So I'm going to just take this, and here I would make this one green. Okay, then just the last one, I'll just say color here. Color would be white. That, yeah. All right, so now we have the buttons style. What's this? Don't want borders, so I'll say border. None. Oops, borders none. Yeah. All right, so this is better. So I have a stop button and a start button, right? Let me just do one more thing, and I'll say cursor. All right, pointer. Yep. All right, better. So the start and stop, right? So the idea is when I click on the start, it's when you refresh the page, this should start immediately. So when I click on stop, it should stop it, that's pause it, and when I click on start again, it should start it again. So to do that, I'm going to definitely need a use effect so that it will run once. Did I get that spelling right? Use effect, okay, so that it will run once once the page refreshes and start this digital clock. So let me do that now. I'm going to set the use effect somewhere here. Yes, use effect, and okay, good. So it's expecting me to set the interval inside the use effect function. So I'm going to do that. I can set the interval to run the function, which should have this. So what I'll do is I'll make that into a function. So I can just simply say function set time is fine. I'll just take this, put it in here. I don't know why it's suggesting all that to me. So this is fine. Yeah, I expect the error because definitely it's going to give me that error for now. But it's saying I've created a function called set time, and that's going to create the date, the current date for me, and set is going to set it into this hook here. It's going to set it into this state here, and this is going to save that time, and it's going to come down to display it in my digital clock here. So this function I'm expected to put that into the setInterval function itself. So I think I've seen where my issue is here. So I'm just meant to set that. So I'm going to just I don't need to create a new function since I've already created the function right here. Set time. Okay, yeah, so we have to be careful here because see, I've used this in this hook here, the useState hook, and I'm trying to repeat that for the function. So what I should instead do here, I'll just say handle or let me just say set current time is better. Then I'll take this and put that here, set current time. So now this makes sense now because see, it's going, and what I did here is the same thing I did before. It's just that now I've put this into a function, set current time, and I'm calling that into the setInterval for every 1 second, and I'm saving that in this variable called interval. Now the reason is that anytime you're using useEffect, it's going to in this case it's going to run once, right, But the idea is that I'm actually going to put in a dependent here, and that dependent is needed because I would need to find out whether this has been instructed to start or whether it's been instructed to stop. So let me just create that dependent variable here. I'll say constant and I will say is on. So to know whether is on, and I'll say set is on, something like that. Yeah. And now I'm going to change this to true because in reality, when we refresh this page, the useEffect is going to run once and it's going to set this interval to run, right? And it means that it's going to run this function and it's going to set this time. So what this means is that it's actually, like you can see here, it's working here. So it's constantly working. So what I want to do here is I want to put this as the dependent, so it's on, right? So let me refresh and let's see what happens. So now it's working because it's setting the current time, right? And the set interval is currently going, has already been set, but why it's working is because we've not stopped it, like we've not cleared that interval. So it's just running, and if we refresh this again, it's going to create another interval, which is very dangerous, right, at the back end. So what we want to do is make sure that we return a clear interval. This will run actually a function that will now clear the interval, right? So you can see it's working for now. And what the idea is that is dependent on this. So when it starts once, it's going to run this, it will start it, and it's going to clear the interval, and it will continue the process that way. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to specify here that if is on, that means if is on is true, then it's going to do all this, else it won't run. So let's see. So it's on is false, so it's not going to do any of this, right? We just refreshed it, so it started the useEffect, but it never ran the interval, right? But let me do change that to true that way and save, and now we can see it's running now. So the idea is it's dependent on this hook called is on. So I'm going to now use that to set these buttons, so that once I click on start, it's going to set is on to true, and once I click on stop, it's going to set is on to false, and we'll see the effect it has on this. So this useEffect is okay, and this function we created is okay, styling is fine. So I'm going to come down here and definitely we'll say onClick. That's the event that we're going to take care of. So onClick is going to, I want to run an anonymous function inside. So I'm going to say onClick, I want you to set is on, and that is for start, so you set it to true. So it's on, I want you to set it to true that way, and we can just copy that and put that here, and this one will be false. So that's it. Expecting this to work, and let's give it a try. So refresh. So now it's working because it's true, so by default it turns on. So let me stop it now. So I click on stop, and now it stopped. Start, and now it started. So let me just check the console, and I'm going to be sure that it's actually doing what I want it to do. So in this case, I'm saying onClick, set is on to true, and I'm also going to console that, so console log that. So I'm going to do onClick for the start, yes, and I'm going to do the same. So just take that, but onClick is already here, set is on, so I'll just do the same thing. Come here, oops, not that one, this one, then false, and I'm going to stop in. All right, so let's see the effect that has here. So it's working, and I'm stopping it, and it says stopping, and it stopped, right? And I start it says starting, and it started. Let's try it again. Stop, stopped, start, and it continues from the current time here. So that's basically how to build the digital clock, and if there are any questions, you can leave it in the comment. But let me just do one more thing. Let me just create a counter app here, so just a simple one there. So I'm going to place that below the button here, and what I want to have is create the hook for that. So I'm going to say const let's create now it's off. Now I'm going to say counter, something like that, then set counter, and by default that would be 0. So I want the counter to start at 0, right? Let me just stop this, stopping, so stopped. So I want it to start at 0, right? So let me display what my counter should look like here, and it's giving me the option of history, but I want h2 instead. So counter 0, okay, fine. Let me just increase the size of that. Font size, oops, for RAM. Let me see. All right, so this bogus counter I have here for RAM, right? So let me just do one more thing. Background, color, and I can give it F4, nope. Let me just give F4. Something like that. Will it make a difference? Okay, not bad, but at least it's looks good the way I want it. So now this is going to be our counter, right? And underneath I'm going to have the buttons. So I will say button, and this one would be increment, as to increase that, and the next one will be to decrease that, so decrement, right? Yeah, decrement. So I'll just do the same styling. Maybe I would take this styling up here, btn start. I'll just take that one and give it to this one, style, sorry, yes, just run that in. Okay, increment, then I will take this other one, bt, stop and come here, style, right, and let's see that all good. So I have increment and decrement, which means increment by 1 and decrement by 1. So what that means is if I click this one, it should be 1, this -1, -2, -3, and this the same thing upwards, right? So how I need to write the logic for this, and I wouldn't want to do that in a separate function because I have a lot of code here already. But the basic idea is we're going to use this set counter and we're going to add 1 to the default value there. So I'm coming down here to increment, and I'm going to create my onClick event. All right, so I'll say onClick, then it's going to create an anonymous function inside there, right? And I'm now going to say set the counter, right? And within that, I'm going to create another anonymous function because I'm not changing the value directly, I'm actually adding to the values. So I'm going to call whatever I have there, maybe I'll just say count, and I'll just come here and say count plus 1. So the idea is if I click that, it should set the counter, the count with the count value of 1 added to it. So let's see that, and it's working. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So nice, but this decrement is not working. The other one is working. So let's do the same for this. I'm a bit lazy now, so let me just copy this whole thing, and I'll come down here and I'll change this to minus, and that is it. So now if I click this, it's going back minus and this, right? So the last thing I will do now is just to make sure that if I'm going below 0, I would give an error message here, and I'll say sorry. Probably I'll just say sorry, you can't do that, or something like that, so that or sorry, it's too low, or something like that. So let me just put that message here first. So I'm going to create that somewhere here, style this, and font size, let's make that 4, no, that's too big, 2 right, and save, and oops, not bad, and just make it 1.5, and the color red. So say color and red, something like that. Yeah, so this is cool. Sorry, you can't go below 0. So this is only going to pop up if this is below 0, right? So I'm going to create a state for that, and I'm going to say is below, something like that. So below, and I'll say set is below, right? So for now, is below is going to be false because by default what I have is 0, right? So let me stop that. So if it goes below 0, then I will change this false to true. That's the idea. And if it shows true, then this will come up, right? And also if it shows true, let me see if I can force the counter to retain 0. That means it shouldn't change. So let me do that now. So okay, let me first take care of this one. So let me just create a JavaScript variable here. and I would say is below, right? Is below, right? So if it's below, then it's going to show that. That's just what this means. So if it's below, it's going to pop. Now it's not below, right? But if it's below, now it's not working because this is still set to false, so I have to change it, right? So I'm going to create let me see if I can use the useEffect to create that for counter, something like that, right? And that's it. This is if counter is less than 0, then this one, and I'm going to put counter in here, counter, right? So if counter is less than 0, set true. Let's see, now it's working. So I needed to put this into a useEffect that depends on the counter, and if you increase it, now if it's increased, it would not show here. So I have to put else sorry, set counter to false, right? So increment, decrement. Now see that? So now it's below 0 and it's showing that, right? But if it comes above it, it's not showing anymore. Sorry, you can't go below 0. So let me see if I can force it to remain at 0. If counter is less than 0, it's going to set this, and it's going to set the counter itself to 0. But the problem with that is that if I set it, okay, that should work, because it's going to set it to 0, and if it won't it won't change again, like it will always be 0. So let me see that, not here, the other one here, counter 0, right? So let's see if this will work. So I'm increasing that and decreasing, and like if I hide this one and run that and decrement, it will show that, right? But if I set this open, right, it's not going to go below 0. So it's trying to force it, right, but it's refusing to go below 0. So that's basically it. If you have questions, you let me know. And that's the digital clock, and that is our counter app. All right, bye.